I came across her work, gosh, several years ago. I've read many of her books. I have one right here, by the way. I was just saying to my husband this morning, I quote you about discipline all the time, Dr. Shefali, when my husband is like threatening my children with something completely unrelated to the bad behavior. I'm always like, no, remember what Dr. Shefali said about discipline? So I've read her books. I'm a huge fan of her work. I really apply it in my own parenting, in my own life. And I've also heard her speak on stage at Wisdom 2.0 and on Oprah. And the thing that I really love about Dr. Shefali is she is speaking profound truth, and she is so like standing in her power and giving those around her permission to access their truth and their power. And I feel as though one of your gifts is you speak these truths in a loving but honest and direct way. And you also are so poetic. Like your languaging is just, it's like beautiful to listen to as well. So, she just drops like pearls of wisdom and truth everywhere she goes. And I'm so honored and excited to have you here today, sharing some thoughts on, accessing wisdom during this time of COVID. And so how will you show up wisdom throughout COVID? I'm going to pass it off to you, Dr. Shefali.
Hi, everyone. Can they all hear me?
Yes.
So I'm just so honored to be here with you. So excited to share this time and space. So before we begin, just write in maybe a word or one sentence on what your biggest struggle is right now. So I heard someone say my biggest struggle is that I don't feel I'm struggling. That's okay too. So just check in with me and just let me know where people are at. So if there's anything specific I can gear this talk to, I will. So Courtney says lack of freedom. Yes. Cabin fever, disorientation, the unknown. Yes. No meeting friends in the real. Yes. What about you, Vanessa? What's the hardest part for you?
Yeah. Oh, well, I want to read one first because my mind's a little distracted reading this one that someone sent me privately. My question to Dr. Shefali is, how should I deal with a situation where whenever my son visits his father, he's basically being brainwashed by him and influenced in a negative way. Therefore, every time my son comes back home, he's much more irritable and edgy. I know I can't control what happens when my son goes to his father's house, but I do have to deal with the after effects.
Well, let's save the questions for later, but I will answer that later. Will you remember to ask me that later?
Sure.
We'll keep 5 or 6 questions for later. But right now, people are talking about, what they're struggling with. So Jamie says not being able to plan for the future. Ali says worried about her parents and others saying safe. Lisa, the loss of life as it was. Darlene, leaping into faith that I will have what I want and when I need it. Danielle, balancing parenting, remote learning, working remotely. Valerie, feeling like this time at home should be productive. Carolyn, teaching children working. Why? What's next? When is it going to be? So a lot of stuff is coming up. So what I want to begin with saying is that what's really happening in this moment is profound, not only on the physical level of our physical threat and losing people physically or not seeing our friends or families physically, but also emotionally, also psychologically, and also spiritually. So I'm going to touch on all these layers to help us understand what's going on so that we can best show up in this very unique, unprecedented time. So I'm a wisdom teacher. What that means is that I incorporate wisdom from Eastern mysticism and spirituality in my work. I'm a clinical psychologist. So my books have a very unique blend of Eastern mysticism, I'm from the East, and Western psychology. I talk a lot about consciousness and the raising of consciousness. So what I want to talk with you about is that in this time of physical stress, how can we capitalize on the emotional, psychological, and spiritual lessons to best show up in this time? If we only focus on the physical in life, then we will most likely end up shriveling up and end up in anxiety and panic, because the physical is the death, is the mortality, is the lack of a paycheck, is the lack of friends, is the lack of our routine, right? The physical world has been shaken up. We have been truly been threatened on the physical level. And if we only focus on that, we will then enter anxiety, panic, and depression. So that's why it's so important that we're having this conversation, because what I'm going to offer to you is an invitation that there's a lot more going on besides just the physical. And if we only focus myopically on the physical, we will shrivel. If we focus on the emotional, psychological, and spiritual, we can expand. So that's what I'm trying to teach you here, is that we need to focus on the other layers besides the physical to gain our strength and empowerment. So on the physical level, we feel scared, we feel threatened, we feel there's something out there that's going to get us, and many of us have lost our loved ones to the physical. So now let's go to the other layers. Having said that, on the other layers, we need to understand, on the emotional and psychological first, that what is happening right now is no different than what has always happened, but we haven't been willing to see. So in the past, we lived lives based on a prescription list. That prescription list was linear. So psychologically, we felt as if we were going somewhere. Emotionally, we felt secure because we knew what was coming next. But in truth, psychologically and emotionally, we felt secure because we had a prescription list. But what I want to tell you is that what was on the prescription list was an illusion, giving us an illusion of comfort and an illusion of security. So on our psychological and emotional prescription list was this linear checkbox, an array of checkboxes that told us how we should live our life. We go to college, we should look a certain way, we should believe in a certain God, we should then go for higher education, then we should get these grades, be this successful, be this wealthy, be this pretty, get married to this kind of person, have children, be in this zone, and then you will be happy. So that prescription list is what we were all following on a subliminal or unsubliminal level. That prescription list gave us a modicum of security and safety. But what I've always taught is that prescription list was garbage. It was an illusion. It was a delusion to think that that equals happiness, that equals stability, that equals achievement, true achievement, that equals true connectivity. No. So all our lives we were being brainwashed to think that that prescription list was it. It was a bubble. We were in the matrix and we didn't even realize it. And now we needed to take the red pill, but we were too scared. And now this virus is like taking the red pill and we're like, what? So that entire prescription list, which was giving us our modicum of emotional and psychological safety, is taken away. And now we feel lost. But the truth is that that was always an illusion. It was always Maya. I named my daughter Maya, which is the Hindi name or Sanskrit name, Indian name for illusion. It's the word for illusion. The reason I called her Maya is because I saw very early on through my own awakening that the world we were living in is an illusion. And we're following these prescription lists and these checklists as if they are a self, as if that will give us a self. So we used to think we were the prescription list. So we used to call ourselves in these terms. I am a wife. I am a mother. I am an artist, a lawyer, an accountant, the president, whatever. That attachment to I am, those labels, those judgments, those definitions are and were and will always be an illusion. They are not who you truly are. And we were raised thinking that's the self. We raised our children believing that is the essence of their true self. That is not the true self. It never was, never will be, and never should be. Those are just accoutrements, attachments, external fixations that should never be mistaken for the true self. And the truth is, we never went looking for the true self. We never cultivated the true self. So we never found the true self. We were mistaken that the proxy was the true self. Then when the marriage ends, or the marriage didn't even begin, or the child didn't come, or the child is not so special that you can post about the child on Facebook, or the child is in this glorious being giving you this sanity and joy and worth, you begin to think you are not good enough. You are not a good mother. You are not a good wife. You are useless. You are not enough. But the truth is, that was never who you were in the first place. So not having it doesn't really make a difference, but you didn't know that. So we were all, as a humanity, as a globe, living our life addicted to the wrong things in life, to the externals in life, and always grappling and grasping and clinging, craving for those things. But that never was to be. And only when those things were taken away, time after time after time, and you hit what therapists call rock bottom, that you may awaken. And as therapists, we love rock bottom. I always tell my clients, well, you haven't hit rock bottom, you're not going to change. And they were like, no, I really want to change. I'm like, no, you want to change. That's very different from changing. All of us want to change, but we don't really change. And the reason we don't really change is because the process of change doesn't happen quickly. So we say we want to change, but what we really mean is we want him to change, her to change, it to change. And so we're doing the same thing here. We want the virus to go away. We want the cure. We want the solution. But no, what's really being shown to us through the mirror of this present moment is that how we were living was false. How we were living was an illusion. And that's what this is showing us. It's taking away the masks of our emotional and psychological proxies and showing us that all those proxy ways of living wasn't really the true self. And now we're being questioned to ask, who am I really? Who am I without the mask, so to speak? Who am I in my essence without the ego of all those labels, attachments, roles? Do I really like myself? Do I really know myself? Who am I at the deep interconnected level, in the deep interconnective tissue of my inner landscape? Who am I there? Without this, without this, without this, without this. All our lives we were told to grow, and we thought to grow meant to add. So we kept adding degrees, subjects, belonging, worth, groups, friends, social media likes, followers, husbands, cars, shoes, clothes, makeup. We kept adding, thinking that in the addition will be ourselves. Somewhere there we'll find who it is we are. But that is never where you find who you are, because true growth is subtractive. It's detractive. It's who you are when you're without. Who you are when you are without the external, without the attachment, without the accoutrements of life. And this is what we are facing. Who am I now without? And the only way we can answer that, who am I without, is by going within. That is true growth. And we're being asked to grow within, without. Who am I without? With the without, without, and also without the out, right? We literally cannot go out of the house. We literally can't go drink, smoke, distract. I mean, of course we can, but you know what I mean. We can't, all the old addictions are not there anymore and we're losing it. But this is a beautiful opportunity to retreat, to go into rehab, to have a timeout, to have a major, great, big pause and to reset. So now moving into the spiritual. Most of us had religious lives. Very few of us may have had spiritual lives. What is the difference? A spiritual life is a true commitment to living with inner contemplation, with solitude, with quietude, meditation every single day. Not meditating on something, which is to think more, but learning how to enter the breath, how to pause and live a life of true inner solitude, quietude, and contemplation. That means to live a spiritual life. A religious life is very different. A religious life takes scripture, focuses on scripture, takes the rosary, focuses on sport, takes the idol, takes the synagogue, takes the congregation. It's outer focus, focusing on something outside, God outside, divinity outside. Spirituality has nothing to do with anything on the outside. It only has to do with a deep cultivation of the authentic self. Who am I essentially, truly, at the deepest level? And that's why this moment in time is a spiritual portal to discovering that, a spiritual entryway. It's a birth canal. The hard part of it right now is that we are in the canal, and it hurts because labor is damn hard. We know it. We are in the tunnel of transition right now, and the old can never be. The new hasn't yet arrived. And we are in this tunnel, and we can't see in the tunnel because we have not yet been birthed. But the truth is that we are always in the tunnel between the past and the future, because the only place we ever always are is in the present moment. So here we are again being allowed to see the greatest spiritual lesson of all, that we never could cling to the past, and we never did know the future. It was an illusion that we lived in, that we had this bubble of certainty. There was never certainty. That list that pretended to tell us what's coming next was a lie. It worked for a while. And for some of us, if it worked longer, it kept us cocooned in a lie. The truth is that we never knew the future. We don't know what's best for our children. It's a lie when we say to our children, I know what's best for you. And now the virus is showing us, do you know what's best for your child? No, you thought you knew, but you don't know. You don't know what the future is going to be, because the truth is we never knew what the future was going to be. We pretended we did. And now the lid is off, and the mask is off, and the delusion is broken, and the bubble is burst. Therefore, we now have a choice. We have a choice to get crumbled by this, to cling and cry and whine and complain. Now, we can do that. It's human. It's normal. It's absolutely natural to be crying, because we're grieving and mourning the old past, the old order. You know, the old order is over. The old paradigm is shattering. That old way is crumbling. And it's okay to cry. It's okay to miss. It's okay to mourn. But the truth is, it will never come back the same way. And we are now in the tunnel. And whether we like it or not, the tunnel is only going one way, to a new tomorrow. And it's scary because we're like, who will this be? Who will I be? Who will we be? Yeah, we don't know. We never knew. In the present, you never know. And true wisdom is about learning to live in the unknown, because the only thing we can know is this moment. But oops, it's already over. Oops, it's already over. And cultivating this way of thinking, this way of presence, is the mastery of living in this world that we call a life, a reality. The only way to live reality is what is being shown to us right now, with a great and deep appreciation that no amount of lists are going to help right now. That the only thing that's going to help is your emotional resilience, is your psychological wholeness. That your strength, your empowerment, your resilience is the only thing that's going to help. The next thing that this is showing us is that we are mortal. We have always been mortal. Not only are we mortal, we're fragile. And not only are we fragile, we are no better and no worse than a virus. We are no better, no worse than the horse, than the beetle, than the grasshopper. And through this awareness, I hope, can come an awareness of our interconnection, of our interdependence, that we are animals, and it's only our ego that makes us think we are greater. Why is this a liberating thought, I hope, is that we can release our control. We have no control. The animal out there releases, the tree releases the leaves, doesn't hold on to the leaves. When the rose wilts, it's not crying or complaining, it wilts because it understands it is an animal, it is energetic, it is transforming. So are we. We are always in transformation. There is no control. We've already died 1,000,000 times since yesterday. Our trillions of cells are constantly dying and rebirthing. So all of life is lived in this moment. This moment is the only moment we have. And now we are asked to approach this present moment with presence. And in order for us to cultivate that presence, we need to be okay releasing the past and okay releasing our delusion that we know the future. We never did, we never will, we never can. No psychic, I don't see any psychic out there coming to say when this is going to end. There's no fortune teller, no medium, nobody, because we can't tell the future. We're not meant to know the future, you see. We're only meant to cultivate the power of this present moment. So here we are now in a painful period of the birthing canal. We are in the unknown. We are in the dark. We are in the nebulous formation of the next phase. And being nebulous is uncomfortable. So we're asked to tolerate. Can we tolerate the present moment? Can we come to the present moment with equanimity, with surrender? I let go of the past. I let go of the future, and I enter the present moment. I tear up all the prescription lists, and I tell myself that I am going to show up right here, right now, with my breath, with my attunement, with my presence, with my generosity, with my gratitude. Because if I'm breathing, I have a lot to be grateful for. So this virus is telling us moment after moment, we are interconnected. We are one. What happens to one happens to all. This was a wisdom that was always there, but we never saw it because we were too distracted. The virus is showing us that our breath is powerful, to breathe it deeply, to not underestimate ever again the power of this breath. The virus is here to show us that the only way to live now is right here, right now, like our children do. You see, our children always know how to live in the present moment. It's we who've lived in the future. And now we're coming to see. There's no precedence for the future now. There's no prediction for the future. There's no idea delusion that we can ever imagine this future. It's a difficult lesson to learn. It's really painful because we liked our own life. Even though we didn't like our own life, we liked not liking our own life. Because that was our choice. I don't like my life, but it's my choice not to like it. And we don't like that the virus is telling us that it gets to choose how we live our life. We don't like it. Let me just drink something. So now we're being asked to release, to surrender, that we were never in control. And the moment we let go of our resistance to not being in control, then we enter equanimity. Sylvie wants to know what is equanimity. It means being equanimous, not hating, not loving, not craving, not resenting. Simply being here now as it shows up in the present moment. That is what wisdom teachers teach us. That's what wisdom teaches us, to be present. That's what it means to be present. To understand the illusion, the Maya of the past and the future. It's all an illusion. The only thing of importance that was there before the virus came, but now the virus is showing us, is how to live here and now. So we are in the transition between the past and the future, but we were always in the transition. We just pretended to know the future. We were always birthing. We were always in the present, here and now. Always. Now it just seems so clear because now we have no escape. We can't run. We can't hide. We can't busy ourselves. We can't overwhelm ourselves with doing. So now we're like, oh my God, what do I do with myself? How do I be? How do I be without knowing the future? You be as you were always being, except then you were in a delusion. Now you be the same way. Show up powerful, but with the wisdom that I really don't know my future. You never did. So how do we show up? We show up with this understanding that this virus is an opportunity. It is a portal to our transformation. We can cry and whine and have great grief, sure. But as we do, we have to understand that the reason we are grieving, mourning, and complaining and whining, whatever we're doing, is because we're clinging to what we thought was and what we think should be. When we release those notions and just say, okay, I surrender. I surrender to this unknown moment. I let go of my desire to control. Now you enter grace. You enter peace. You just stop trying so hard. You just release your image of perfection. You release that idea that I want to be someone, something. And you just say, I want to experience the present moment. Whatever shows up, I want to lean into it and grow. So that's my little 30-minute talk to you. I don't want to keep talking. I want you to ask questions. I want you to have time to reflect. And I'm here for you to answer any questions. Vanessa.
Thank you, Dr. Shefali. I love this reframe of the virus as a portal for transformation. And I've certainly witnessed that in my own life. So we want to open it up to any specific questions you all have that you'd like to ask her at this time, or any reflections, any follow-up thoughts on what she just shared. Thoughts
By the
on?
way, I do a daily wisdom talk, and I do daily meditation, so they can come to my Facebook page at 12 o'clock Eastern every single day. I'm doing a free course right now called Viral Wisdom. So people can sign up for my newsletter to get it via email. That's on my website or on my Facebook page.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm going to share your website right now with everybody.
So they can sign up for my newsletter there and then go to my Facebook page as well.
So Sylvie said something around homeschooling, being a perfectionist mom, having a hard time not having children, doing perfect homework on time. I've heard a lot from working parents around how to, it really is like all the illusions are having to fall away, because you can't, it was already impossible to be the ideal worker and the ideal parent. Those were already like making people insane, but now you literally can't do it. So what response would you have to folks who are feeling like, I'm having a hard time managing it all, and it's noticing how these identities just really aren't working for me, they're not serving me, but what do I do? How do I cope?
Well, I think we have to understand that we cannot be perfect. We have to let go of this idea that our children are falling behind the curve. There is no curve. The curve is in our head. It's an illusion. So yes, the education system is putting an undue pressure. I've been very upset about it. I've written to superintendents. You can write to your teachers, write to the principal, tell them that this is insanity. What are they doing? They need to adapt to the present moment, let go of the pressure. But if they don't let it go, you give yourself permission to say, I'm not buying into this. I have now seen the illusion of it all. I'm not buying into this pressure, into this time-bound capsule that they put my child into, and I'm just going to focus on emotional well-being, and whatever gets done, and if it doesn't get done, we don't know the future anyway. We don't even know now literally whether kids will go to college and whether college will be the same. So we just need to focus on our emotional strength and power and our sanity, and stop putting extra pressure, and write to the teachers and push back on them and say, hey, I've written to all my kids' teachers, the principal and the superintendent, that this is not okay. I've made videos, I've posted videos. Like, I'm not playing your game. If you can't adapt to this moment and make our children feel that their emotional health is the most important, then I'm not going to play tyrant with you. I'm not going to be an authoritative, abusive person and be stressed out because of you. I'm trying to survive and get food on my table and pay the bills and handle my kid and his anxiety, right, for example. So that's about all I can do. So you have to unlock this, and you have to give yourself freedom. As we know, there is no leader on the outside, as we're seeing very abundantly clearly. So similarly, don't think your teachers know what they're doing either. They're also falling under pressure from someone else. Stop playing the game. Just stop playing the game. Buy out, opt out, do the best you can, and let it go.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think it's such great wisdom. And I noticed trying to get on my daughter's case that she didn't write enough for her writing assignment. And it's almost like we can channel our anxiety and our need for certainty, and we're projecting that onto our children, and then wanting them to complete some silly homework assignment so that we can feel a sense of stability. And I love how much your work is about turning that mirror around and looking at ourselves. So this is a great moment to do that as a parent.
Yes.
So thank you. It looks like Diane said, what would your approach to parenting at this time help children see the glass is half full?
Well, you don't have to say anything, really. It's really how you're living your life, and you're allowing them to have their big feelings. They don't need to see life as half full or half empty. But that in itself is our idea. Maybe they're totally okay. Even if they're crying, tantruming, melting down, yelling, screaming, who said that they're not okay? They're just going through their feelings. And your embodiment of like, yeah, this is a new moment. Let's see what happens. Life is an adventure. Let's see. When they see that, that'll be the contagion, right? That'll be the vaccine. That'll be the cure. When they see you living in this moment going, we'll see. And, the other day my daughter said, I'm sick and tired of living in the house, cabin fever. I said, I understand. Let your kids have big feelings, accept it, normalize it. Don't take it away. Don't say, oh, you're lucky that you're alive. Don't show the glass half full. Just allow their feelings, and your equanimity with that will teach them that, okay, I said, I know you're bored. I understand. I know you want to leave. I get it. That's natural. But here we are. Here we are. And then at a later time, you can say, I'm so glad that we're okay. Like, how lucky are we to be okay, right? But don't force it in replacement of authentic feelings. The kid is allowed to have authentic feelings, and we don't have to keep being the cheerleader, but let's be happy. Let's be happy, right? The happiness emerges from our acceptance of whatever is happening. That's the true lasting happiness, is true acceptance.
Thank you. It's beautiful. Beata said, any advice on how to deal with my grown-up son, on how to deal with his depression in this difficult time? I know I've also heard from several people who are now living in quarantine with family members that they aren't normally with. So there's this sense of like spaciousness that's gone. So I've seen some questions on that as well. Managing different personalities in close quarters.
Yeah. It's not easy to be cooped up and all these housemates that you're like, I don't know whether I like you or you. So what I say, I've done lots of videos on this. You can look up my Instagram. Yeah, this is challenging. It's going to bring all your stuff in your relationships up to the surface, because again, I said, we don't have the addictions anymore. We don't have the distractions anymore. But more than that, it's going to bring each one's coping style to the fore and to the front. And if your partner had dysfunctional coping style, which your partner has for sure, most of us have dysfunctional coping styles from childhood, it's going to come up. And we have to show compassion at this time. Don't run and get a divorce right now. This is not the time. So the best way to do is just take off the glasses of criticism and control and wanting to yell and scream and curse the mother-in-law, and just put them down and go, this is not the time. I need to be sane. I need to have compassion that this is this person's way of dealing with their past because they didn't learn anything any better. And I need to show up for myself and my children the best way I can, and just release that control and enter compassion and connection and just go, I don't have the perfect house. The dishes are in the sink. The socks and underwear are lost. And the house is a mess. Let the house go. Sacrifice the house. I've told all mothers, sacrifice your looks, your body weight, and your house and the grades. Just sacrifice it. When this is over, you'll clean your house. We'll revisit the house and the body when this is over. We cannot do it all. Like, this is a time to just stay alive, stay safe. And if you can, brush your teeth. What can I say?
I love it. So we had a couple questions. One on how do you know when it's hit rock bottom? Is it necessary to get there in order to learn how or what action you should take? How to learn to let go properly and accept yourself? This is hilarious. I love this question for so many reasons. What techniques can you pursue to accelerate getting to rock bottom? And how can one develop proper courage to deal with one's own self and difficult actions you may need to take? There's a lot in there.
There's a lot in there. I'm just going to answer just the kernel of it. Rock bottom just means your ego doesn't work anymore. All the things you did to protect yourself, eating too much, drinking too much, thinking you were so fancy, thinking you were the rock star, all the things to do with your ego, they've all busted. So you realize, it didn't matter that you were rich. It didn't matter that you were a size 0. Your husband still left you. Or you didn't, you just realize, everything you did to try through the ego fell apart. It's the most powerful moment in life when those things happen, even though you hurt. But what's hurting is the ego. Because when your relationship falls apart, when the job falls apart, when your body falls apart, really it's to show you who you are without that. And you are something tremendous without that. But you have to go on a journey. So the rock bottom means, are you willing to let go of your false self? Are you ready to enter your authentic self? Most of us don't even know we're living in a false self. We blame everybody else. Now we're blaming the virus. Then we blame the president, which we can blame for sure. Or we blame somebody else, right? It's not them. It's not somebody on the outside. It's not the virus. This is us. We chose to live. Life has a lot of ups and downs. Okay. You chose to get married. Chances are your husband could leave you. You chose to get married. Chances are he's lazy. You chose to get married. He comes with a mother. What do we want? We just want one part, but we don't want the other. Part of this life now is we want to live. part of life is sometimes it sucks. And developing the wisdom means that you've hit rock bottom. You don't have to literally be bankrupt, literally be with cancer to hit rock bottom. You can have wisdom to go, what needs to hit rock bottom is the ego. Why am I upset right now? Because I'm holding on to something that is from my ego. And when you let that go, you hit rock bottom.
Excellent. And Earl asked where this recording will be posted. We will be emailing it out to everyone who registered. It'll be on YouTube. So we will be making it available. Don't worry, you will be getting the recording. You can share it with your family and friends. So someone reposted this question from earlier about, to me privately, this person who feels obliged to help their son deal with his negative feelings after leaving his dad's house. And I think it can also be related to a question I've heard from a lot of people during the virus around, well, if I'm feeling okay, I do these practices and I get kind of grounded and centered, and then other people around me are in extreme anxiety and fear. How do I manage, this when other people are in a very different state and they maybe even were wanting me to agree with them about how awful things are? So this sense of...
You have to understand that people can have their own party and do what they want. You are not to control how other people deal with their anxiety, although you want to. And you want to bubble wrap your children, bubble wrap yourself. No, you can't. You had a kid with somebody else. Now with that somebody comes all their past stuff and all their anxieties and all their stuff. They may watch the media all day, and now your kid watches the media all day. This is life. We do this to ourselves and then we complain. So now we have to just deal with it. We cannot complain that, I'm perfect, but they're not perfect. Because then you're not perfect. Because if you were perfect, you'd understand other people are not perfect. And you just deal with it. So when your kid comes back and is more anxious, you be the light and the lighthouse, and you, through your embodiment of equanimity, can tell them, yeah, dad sometimes gets anxious, or mom sometimes gets anxious, auntie gets anxious, grandma gets anxious. That's their way. But let me tell you, we don't have to get anxious. We have to understand that this is life, and sometimes these things happen. So you can course correct, but you can't control the other, and you can't control your kids' exposure or lack of exposure. They're going to be exposed to the virus or to other people's anxiety. This is showing us we cannot control anything. We can only take charge of ourselves. This is the biggest lesson of life that this virus is showing us.
Love it, thank you. And then Earl asked a question on any advice on planning for the future. It seems we're obsessed with planning because of competition. We want to be sure to help our kids be successful in the future. How do we reconcile this for ourselves as parents?
Yeah, you have to read my books. This is what I've been talking about forever, that, stop being obsessed, because what you think you know for your kid may not be true. Now, having said that, yeah, you have to apply to a college and fill up the application, but don't think you know what you're doing now and how it will traject in the future. We don't know anything. So fill up the application, but do it with play and with lightness, not with this obsession that America has been obsessing over college, right? From the moment our kid is 2, we're preparing them for college. What are we thinking? We don't know anything. And this virus is showing the only thing we can expect is the unexpected. Having said that, sure, fill up the application form. But as you do so, have the wisdom to know you're not in control of the future. You're just taking charge of this moment, knowing the kid could get into that fancy schmancy school and it could be the worst school for them. Or they could get into the Ivy League school and in their room, in their dorm, could be a water leak and all the clothes could get destroyed. Or the kid could get into, sickness in that room, in that fancy school, right? We're trying to control life. And this is showing us we can plan knowing that there's really nothing to plan for. See, it's the wisdom of both. Do, knowing that the doing is only for this moment. So fill up the application form in this moment, but don't do it pretending you know that it's going to be the best thing for your kid. Then when the kid goes to school, we'll deal with that moment. Then we deal with that moment. This virus is showing us that the only way to live really is in this moment. And plans are great, but they are really thin and threadbare, and they can be flicked off by a virus that is invisible. So know that. You can plan mighty plans with your ego, but they can be flicked by a moment in life.
Beautiful. Thank you. We have a question on where does intuition play its part?
Intuition is a great word, but most of us are not intuitive. We are reactive. We think we're intuitive because we're in the feeling words and world. True intuition is cultivated, and only can, this is me, can only be cultivated through contemplation and silence and inward journey, which is meditation. We think we're being intuitive. Most of our intuition is ego. So the only way to know the difference between your ego and your truth, your authentic self, is to meditate. And I teach this every day now for free. So you can come to my Facebook and meditate with me. But intuition is a great word. It's just a better word, but it may not be the true you yet, because the true you yet has to be uncovered. It is buried under lots of false layers of what culture has told us, which were on the prescription list. Only when you detach, see the illusion of all these layers: grades, success, religion, belonging, groups, popularity, money, bank accounts, careers. When you let go of all that, then you discover who you really are. And that's what this virus is showing us. Who are you really without? And the only answer I said was within.
An example of it, please. So what other questions you all have for Dr. Shefali? You can type them in the chat, or if someone also wants to unmute and share directly how this is landing with you, any questions or dilemmas you have, this is your chance to connect with her live. Everyone's just letting it all sink in.
Yeah, I've got a question.
Yes, hi, welcome.
Thank you. Just checking in on how does one develop courage to follow through with whatever you needed to do in your life? What are the methods to do that?
The reason we don't have courage is because we're scared, right? What are we scared of? We're scared of failure. What is that? We are scared that we have not achieved what culture has told us we needed to achieve. That's ego. We're also scared of what other people will say and think. We're scared that their opinion will not be resonant with us. We're scared. We're scared of what mommy will say, daddy will say. 5 people really. I always ask people, who are you really scared of? And they can't even give me more than 5. And then I say, and how many of these are living with you right now? And they'll be like, 1. And how many of these will be with you when you die? Probably. They're like, I don't want any of them there. So you're like, oh, so you're living your whole life tailored to what these people will say, but they won't even be the ones you choose when you die. So the reasons we're scared of failure is because we have succumbed to culture's identification with these notions of success and failure. And that's ego. We want validation from culture. And the other is we want validation from the people close to us. That's ego. It's not our true self, because the true self doesn't seek validation. The true self doesn't seek permission. The true self has seen through the layers of veils of illusion of what culture says is good and bad. So how do you develop that true self? Like I said, through meditation, through understanding that culture has lied to us. And really, we've been living in 2 square miles of other people's confidence and courage and trying to pander to everyone else. That's why we have fear. We have fear because we're living according to other people's dictates of who we should be. When we release that and go, I am here to live me, and I'm here to try me, then you climb that mountain and you're not scared if you get to the top or not. You go like, that was me. I could only do that, right? So we're only lacking courage because we have given that power to somebody else, the power of our worth to somebody else. But when we enter our own worth through a process of deep spiritual work, when we enter our own worth, we have courage, because courage has nothing to do with how I look on the outside anymore. It's only how I look to myself. Once I've released everyone else from power over me, I have true courage. Once I've realized that, oh, the person I'm seeking power from, they're full of shame and guilt and worry and fear and scarcity themselves. Why am I waiting for them? Once you understand all this on a wisdom level, you go, what have I been doing? Why am I wasting my time? And then you only have courage. You try new recipes, you try new exercise classes, you try new hairstyles, you shave your hair, you grow your hair, you turn it pink. Because you're like, I don't need anyone's permission anymore. That's courage.
Beautiful. Thank you.
How do you teach teenagers? Pam asked. You don't teach anyone really how to do this. You can't teach anyone. So I'm acting like I can teach you. I can't. I know very well that it's a personal process of awakening. And my child, especially my daughter, you would think I want her to be me. The reason I do this work is I did. And I learned quickly that she cannot be me because she was never meant to be me. So my job is to awaken myself and shut up. If another one wants to awaken, because that's their destiny for this moment, they will awaken. I don't have jurisdiction even over my child. So I may want it, great, but that's my ego. Because true wisdom is to understand that everybody is exactly where they're meant to be in their level of awareness, in their level of consciousness. I am not better. A teacher wiser than me is looking at me as if I'm a total fool, and I am. I'm looking at someone else as if they're a total fool, but really, wisdom is understanding no one is worse and better. Everyone is exactly where they're meant to be. And once you get that, you release other people from being different and you stop banging your head, hoping that they're different. And then you ask yourself, why am I wishing that somebody else is different? I'm as much a fool as they then.
I love it. Thank you. Okay, Molly had a question. She said, how do you have equilibrium between acceptance and still pushing yourself to do all you can?
Well, you don't push yourself to do. You respond from that deep place of true connection and attunement. So when you wash the dishes, you don't do it because you're being pushed to wash the dishes. You find yourself the lesson, the teaching there. Like, I'm meant to wash the dishes. Can I be beautiful when I wash the dishes? I remember when I first came to America from India, and in India, we have people who help us wash everything. And I remember the first time I had to wash my own pot in the bathroom, I was in deep trauma. I was like, I'm not meant to do this. Somebody else should do it. But who was going to do it? There was no mom, no dad, no money to hire anyone. I was like, what? I have to do this? So I had to let go of my ego of what I thought should be, and I had to get on my knees and wash the pot. So I grumbled. I was like, push yourself to do it, push yourself to do it. And then I asked myself, well, what could be the other lesson here? And I realized that I don't need to push myself to wash the pot. The pot is my temple. It keeps me alive. In the pot I poop. Poop keeps me alive. And I developed a relationship of feeling the connection between me and the pot. And I was like, I must do this with beauty. Like, this is saving me, this pot. And keeping it clean is not my obligation. It's my great joy. So when you shift and you begin to see the connection in every moment, and you live your life with connection, no one is making you have to do anything. You are getting to do it. Like, you're getting to do what? Then learn. Oh, I'm in the present moment and I'm going to breathe in cleaning the pot. How is cleaning the pot different than combing your hair? It's same. It's an act of self-care. So is paying the bills. So is taking care of your kids. So is making your bed. So is going on a run. It's all an act of self-care. So once you understand that, then you connect to everything as for me. Oh, I'm cleaning the pot for me.
Beautiful. Thank you. So if anyone else wants to unmute yourself to ask a question directly, you can, and we'll keep taking them in the comments as well. Looks like Lisa had a question. What's the most effective way for people with conditions like PTSD to use the present moment awareness to heal?
Well, it's difficult because we're in a new moment of possible PTSD. So when you're in this new moment, old stuff gets pulled up. So if the old stuff hasn't been healed, and you're still in PTSD over your marriage, your divorce, your child, your grandmother's death, or your partner's death, all that is going to come up double now. That's why it's so important to heal as we go, and so we don't have a buildup of PTSD. So now the person has to seek help, professional help, book a session, get help. I have, my practice is full right now because I have so many people reaching out. You would think that people, you know, have no money, but they understand that they need help. So I'm actually getting a lot of clients now because people need help, and that's okay. Better clean up the past now than keep building and aggregating the plaque, the emotional plaque, so to speak. PTSD is no joke. You need help.
Yeah, thank you for that. One question I have, I noticed, you know, what for myself at least, it's been such a process of unlearning and tuning into that true self, and meditation and contemplation helps so much. I continue to surprise myself by how I might forget to check in with my true self throughout the day. Do you know, where I'll get going on an old story or an old routine, and then I'll forget, and I'll have a moment of awareness where I'll be able to check in and go, oh, that's not even what I want to be doing right now, or how I want to be showing up. I'm curious what practices you have to kind of help you reconnect with that, with your true self, you know, not just when you're sitting in meditation, but sort of throughout the day as you're experiencing the people and the environments around you.
Yeah, I have been on this path for a long time, so I know I make it sound like it's like, oh, just check in with your true self. So I understand it's very difficult. But my life's purpose is to manifest and be connected to my true self. That sounds horrifically selfish, but I know when I'm in BS mode and my ego, inauthentic self, I ruin everybody around me. And I just decided that I'm going to stop. And my only life's work is to follow my authentic self. Because when I follow my authentic self, I allow other people to. I don't burden them with guilt, with obligation, with the onus of healing me. Because when you're in your egoic self and you're pretending to be in this role, you're not doing anyone a service. And very soon you begin to make poor choices because you're working on ego to ego to ego, and you're helping mommy feel good, or you're helping your kid feel good, and you're helping your husband feel good, or your wife, but it's not who you are. So eventually your pressure cooker is going to burst, and you're going to then hurt someone really badly, right? It's the classic person living for other people. They'll do it, but they'll snap. And I don't want to snap. I don't want to snap because I'm not pretty when I snap. And I've seen that in small doses. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to live authentically so I can free everyone else from the burden of taking care of me and feeling like they're obligated to me. You know, I don't make anyone else happy unless I truly feel it. So that I don't need a thank you, and I don't need anyone else to make me happy. Don't do it to make me happy, please, because I'm not even asking you to make it. Don't do it for me. We are all on our own path, and I understood that a long time ago, and I keep cultivating that awareness that I'm not here to live this one life in this incarnation in bullshit mode anymore. I'm not here to be on autopilot. I'm here to live this moment. It's my life. It's my moment. I'm very selfish. I'm very greedy. I want to taste my life. I don't want to live for someone else. I don't want to be a martyr anymore. I did it for years. Martyr, victim, Blair, so hardworking. No, I'm like, now I want to be me. So if that means dirty dishes, that means dirty dishes. I am no longer living a false self. I refuse. And this virus is showing me I have no time to waste on rubbish in life. No time to waste on, if I don't look good for you, I don't look good for you. Sorry, I'm not everybody's person. I refuse to please anyone anymore. And when I made that decision, I began truly checking in all the time. Am I doing it for me, or am I doing it for the role? The role of the pleaser, the role of the martyr, the role of the wife, the role. Why am I doing this? And I began being unapologetic that, oh, if I'm not doing it out of authenticity, even when I was doing it out of pity, you know, or poor thing, I stopped doing it because I'm no one's rescuer. You know, I'm no one's God. I'm not here to heal the world anymore. I stopped playing all those roles, but I used to play them beautifully. And I only became resentful, and I made terrible choices, and then got into a big hole and done.
I love it. Thank you. All right, we have just a couple minutes left. Any other final questions for Dr. Shefali? By the way, Erica Barr, Dr. Shefali, is a friend of mine. We live in the same town. Our kids used to go to school together. Yeah, so I emailed her, I think you have to come. She's shared, in authentic self, you allow others to be an authentic self. You're a beautiful example of that, Erica. Sending you love.
Diane is asking a question, yeah.
Go ahead, yeah.
So Diane says, I love what you said about not defining who you are with the roles we play. In this time when there is more space to be, how would you suggest we explore who am I? What cues do we need to listen to? It's the inner cues. So this is a great time because we're not playing the roles in the traditional way anymore. Now to really go within and meditate, journal, take courses on, am I being me? Like, examine your life, take a pause, don't be afraid to look at your life, put your relationships on the plate, put your pattern on the plate, put your schedule on the plate, and go put your clothes on the plate, like everything. Time to unclutter. All that is inauthentic goes in one pile, all that's authentic goes in one pile. Then look at the inauthentic pile and go, what part of the inauthentic self can I let go right now? You can't let go of everything, okay, right now. If there's a lot of inauthenticity, don't burn the house down, yes? Suddenly your kids will wake up and you're not there. No, you have to still be there, but at least start a new relationship with transparency about, when I emerge out of this tunnel, I'm going to really look at my eating habits, say, or my this habit, say. You can't do everything right now, but at least grow in awareness to what is truly you and what have been the roles you've collected. So I think this is a good place to stop and pause. And I just want to say thank you, Vanessa, for having me. Thank you all for being here. I know my dose of truth may be a bit too brutal sometimes, but I have worked with so many people and I know what people need to snap out, and it's not a convenient process. So if I've poked you, it means something needed to be poked and woken up. But thank you very much for allowing me to be here with you, and meet me on my Facebook page.
Yes, please follow up with her. We shared the link with the Facebook page and her website, and we will share that with the recording as well. So we'll send all the resources and links to her books along with the recording. Thank you so much, Dr. Shefali, for sharing your authentic self with us and with the world. And
let me just say that I have a new book coming out with a genius friend of mine. If you want to pre-order it, it's to teach your kids to transform their anxiety into resilience and courage. It's called Superpowered. It's available right now. Go get it.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll put a link to that as well. I'm making a note. And I still haven't read your latest book, The Awakened Family. So I can't wait to read that one too.
Yeah.
That's like the only one I haven't read. Okay.
It's my last book on parenting per se. So go get it.
Excellent. So thank you so much. I so appreciate you taking the time to be with us today, and you're such a light in the world. I appreciate all the work you're doing. Thank you for saying yes to us in this opportunity. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Anyone want to share just a final quick word on how you're feeling as we wrap this up? Here we go. You can type in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and share one word for how you're feeling right now. And I'm going to share uplifted. I feel very uplifted by each of you and by Dr. Shefali and the conversations we've been having. So as you're coming back into the main session, we've ended the breakout rooms. You can just share one word for how you're feeling. You can unmute yourself or type it in the chat. Validated. Thank you, Courtney. Grateful. Me too. All right. Well, I want to thank you all. Oh, Lisa said restored. Don't we all need some restoring right now? I feel like, Catherine said reconnected to truth, to authentic self. Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Catherine. Anyone else want to either unmute yourself or type in the chat one word for how you're feeling right now?
I think more aware, energized.
More aware?
Yes, yes.
Excellent, thank you. Opened up, Jennifer said. Yes. And I feel so much gratitude. I know we had a couple of folks who just joined us. So if you did, don't worry, you will be emailed the recording. I led a session, and then Dr. Shefali led an incredible talk and Q&A. So you'll get that recording. It'll be posted on YouTube as well. Feel free to share it with your friends, your family members. We'll send you links to some of her books and follow-up resources. And just want to thank each of you for showing up here today to be with us, for bringing calm to COVID. It's a joy to see all of your faces and connect with you. And I'm sending you off with so much love and compassion. I hope you can bring whatever you got from today. I hope that trickles out and expands into your family, into your communities, and into the world. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Much love. Bye.